Today I'm sifting a bit more compost here in the compost yard, and I thought that I'd bring you along to show you what it is that I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what the flow is for the material. Behind me is a pile that originally was about 1.5 yards worth of material that was somewhere in the range of about 6 months old. I like to cover the compost in probably the last month before I wind up starting to utilize that material. What that winds up doing is it helps to hold in a bit of the moisture, and it allows the soil life to further develop, and it isolates the material away from the chickens' activity. Most of this pile behind me was sifted, and I've been putting it into my garden beds in preparation for fall planting season. I take the material from that pile there and I put it into my sifter, which is just a screen with some hardware cloth. It fits perfectly over the top of my wheelbarrow. I'll do either one of a couple of different things with this heavier material that doesn't fall through. I'll either allow it to remain in the yard and reintroduce it into more unfinished compost, or I will collect it up, as I'm doing here, in these milk crates. Twice a year, in preparation for the winter and summer planting seasons, my annual beds will receive an entire wheelbarrow load of this sifted compost as top dress. As this older material makes its way out, newer material will be brought into the fold. This entire area is all deep compost, and I'll continually come in here on a daily basis and begin to fold some of this material and work it kind of in a downhill fashion and allow these hens to come in here and do what they do before I let these chickens out every day, as I'll prepare these piles for their day's work by introducing a bit of sunflower seed and other grains into it, and then I'll fold it over onto the top of itself, and they'll work down through here all day finding grain from not only from what I've put in here from today, but stuff that they didn't find from the previous days. This is a compost I just brought in, and I'll begin to hydrate this over the course of the next few days before I plant, and it'll wind up looking like this. This is a bed that's been top dressed, and this is at this point ready for planting. All of this material has been rehydrated. The only time that I actually ever sift my compost is when I'm using it in my annual beds. For all other use here on the property, I leave it in its most raw form, and you wind up with all of the larger material consisting of biochar, wood chips, bones, and other carbonaceous material. Here's an example of some of the heavier material that's been sifted out, being used as a mulch ring around this freshly planted citrus tree. We get material from a variety of different waste streams brought into the compost yard, but two of the mainstays for what we bring in is lawn clippings and wood chips and or sawdust or shavings that's been used as deep mulch. I just brought some pig litter in, and the hens and the roosters are enjoying themselves quite a bit right now. It's quite heavily laden with a bunch of maggots, and they're going to go ahead and incorporate all of that carbonaceous material that's heavily steeped in urine and feces along with the grass clippings. This time of year is really nice because the grass is still growing very well, but also the trees are starting to shed their leaves, so we start to get a little bit of browns naturally mixed in with our greens. Table scraps never go to waste with chickens and compost. Let's go, dudes. The majority of the compost that comes out of the chicken yard comes out as unsifted in its rawest of form. And this is the first of many wheelbarrows that will be brought into this no-till planting space. Well, it's a few hours before bedtime for the chickens, and this is about what they've been able to do to this pile today. And this is an everyday occurrence where I'll stack it up in the morning and then they'll tear it down in the daytime. But in the morning, I will go ahead and reintroduce some more grain to this, which will incentivize them to go ahead and work on this all day. But you can see they've done a lot of work in moving this stuff around in here for me today. I like to run the sprinkler in here for 30 minutes or so every day just to keep this material from drying out. Bones and other larger material. This is really good for sifting out. Rocks get pitched over the fence. And the rest of this is going to get used for mulch. If you're interested in learning more about what happens here in the chicken yard, you might enjoy this next video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.